Welcome back to Jersey Matters. I'm Larry Mendte. Tax-funded family leave insurance will be expanding in the year 2020. To get you ready for that, here is Yarrow Willman-Cole, Workplace Justice Program Director at the New Jersey Citizen Action. Thank you so much for being here. We've been talking about it. It's complicated, and I know you can unpack all of this. First of all, let's start with when people hear tax-funded, they immediately go, okay, what's this going to cost me? What's it going to cost them?
So for 2020, for this year, the amount that employees are paying into the program, family leave insurance, the cost is 0.16% on the first $134,000 that an employee earns, and the most that an employee will pay for family leave insurance is $209 this year.
That's annually, and it's going to come right out of their pay. It's like a payroll tax, yes. So it'll come right out of their paycheck. So we got that out of the way. Now let's talk about, that's the cost. Now let's talk about the benefits of the program. How is this different than the Family Leave Act, for instance? What more protection does a worker get? Yeah,
so we have two laws, actually, that provide job protection. We have the FMLA, which many people are familiar with, right? It's actually 27 years old. And we also have what you call the FLA, Family Leave Act, which also provides job protection. That's a state law.
Right.
And so some people are wanting to look at that when they're taking leave to guarantee that their job is protected when they take leave and go back, and that's really important. But a lot of people can't even take that leave unless they have some sort of wage replacement. And so this is about getting people partial wages for when they take that leave. And specifically, that leave is about taking time off for bonding with a new child, either adopted, foster, or a newborn, and also caring for seriously ill loved ones. And there's actually some new components that were part of the expansion that we can talk about too.
Yeah, let's talk about what you just said, though, for a second. I get the adopted child. I get the birth leave, we can call it. But when you talk about leaving for somebody that's seriously ill, there has to be some criteria for that. Does there not? How does someone prove to their employer that I need to be at home?
Okay, so just to be clear, in terms of taking the paid leave, they're often applying to the state, and so they really have to approve to the state.
Okay, yeah. I get it. So not their employer. You do it to the state, and the state mandates it and tells the employer this has to happen.
Yeah, in terms of the pay, the wages come from the state fund when the employee takes the leave, and they do have to have a care provider, a doctor, someone that's qualified, certify that that individual that they're taking time off to care for is seriously ill, does require some caregiving support.
So there is verification at the state, and because it's insurance, does that mean the employer doesn't have to pay anything?
So for family leave insurance, the employer does not pay anything. It's only funded through employee payroll taxes. The employer does pay, and the employee also pays for temporary disability insurance, which is a separate program, but it's still part of the same sort of administration at the Department of Labor. And temporary disability insurance provides also partial wages when you take time off for your own health needs.
Let's just say there's a family adopting a child, and they put in for this. How much money that they earn are they going to be able to get back from the state?
Sure. So currently, they're going to get 66% of their average weekly wage. And there is a cap. It's currently $667 a week. But that's going to change because of the expansion coming in July of this year. So that's going to go up to 85% of workers' average weekly wage, and the cap is going up to $881 a week. So that's making it more accessible, especially for lower income folks who often can't afford to take the time off at 66% of their wages.
Wait, how much will I'm thinking about 9 million people in the state, and so we're probably talking about, what, 6 million workers in the state? Is that fair? And they're all putting this money into this pot, and the pot will be available to anyone. Do you believe it's always going to be self-solvent? Have they done that? Have they done the math on that? I assume they have.
Yeah, so this year, in terms of the funding for it, right, they made the calculations based on what we talked about earlier for what payroll taxes are coming out of employees' payroll checks. But in terms of next year, they might adjust that. And what we've seen over the past 10 years, because the program is 10 years old, over 10 years old now, we actually have seen the number adjust in terms of what people are paying. And that's basically because they have to fund it through the payroll taxes, and they don't overfund it, right? So it is a calculation that the state makes. And so the amount has actually gone up a little bit and then down a little bit. Up a little bit and then down a little bit. So it'll be interesting to see what happens next year. It's possible that the amount that we're paying into it does drop.
Just to be clear, and I'm not accusing of this, there's going to be no profit in this. All the money
right.
that's brought
Sure.
in is going to be sent back out, and if there's too much money, your taxes will go down on this.
Yeah, that's right. It adjusts. In terms of what they're funding, I mean, they're funding claimants applying for this and receiving the money, and also they are funding outreach and education. So that's been a really missing piece of this program over the years. So a lot of folks don't know about it at all. There's actually some research that says about 60% of workers are unaware of family leave insurance, even though they've been paying into it, right? And so part of what the state is doing is actually they're going to be spending some money, doing outreach, doing some marketing, actually funding community-based organizations to really get the word out so people can take advantage of it, because it really affords people a lot of benefits in terms of overall health, economic security, and there's even benefits that are for the employer as well.
Let's get the particulars of this. How long can people stay out? How do they get their money? I mean, give me everything that is on the ground level for this for people to know.
Okay, so currently it's only 6 weeks in a 12-month period that you can take family leave insurance. Starting in July, the availability is going to double to 12 consecutive weeks or 56 intermittent days.
When is that going to
So that's
double?
the expansion that starts July 1st, also with the enhanced wage replacement, so enhanced time and enhanced wage replacement.
And then they apply to the state, and
Yeah.
they will get their money from the state.
Yeah, so there's a website, myleavebenefits.nj.gov, and it's highly recommended that you do your application online for faster processing of your claim. And so you just go online, you can start your application there.
I think that there might be, and you tell me if this is true, and you've taken this into account, there might be a fear of going to your employer and saying, I need this time off. Even though they may not be paying for it, much it will be paid for the state, there's a fear of taking that much time off. There's a fear of retaliation. There's a fear that you could come back and you've been replaced. How are they protected?
Yeah, so first there are laws that protect you, right? I mentioned earlier FMLA, the Federal Family Medical Leave Act. And there's also the State Family Leave Act. And both of these laws say if you're going to take time off for the qualifying reasons I mentioned before, then your job has to be returned to you after you take leave. And so folks do need to look into those laws to see if they are if they're covered by them. And the expansion of family leave insurance also included anti-retaliation protections to ensure that employers wouldn't take any negative action against them if they took their time, their paid leave. And so folks should also contact the Department of Labor or the Division of Civil Rights, which oversees the Family Leave Act here in New Jersey, if they have any sense that they are being treated unfairly, if they're being retaliated against for taking their time. We do think that public policy, in terms of what we have in New Jersey for family leave insurance, will help start to move the culture in workplaces towards understanding the value of caregiving, because workers really, they come back appreciative of being able to take that time off, when they need it the most. They're more productive. It actually enhances employers' retention numbers and can bring down costs overall.
There's a lot of information I'm sure we haven't got to in these few minutes. Where can people find more? Well,
besides the website I mentioned earlier where they go for the state.
Please mention it again.
Okay, so myleavebenefits.nj.gov. That's the official site the Department of Labor runs and has a lot of great information. You can also visit the Time to Care Coalition website, which is the coalition that really advocated for the expansion of family leave, and that's njtimetocare.org, and you can find a lot of information on there as well.
Great. Thank you so much for coming in.
Sure.
Really appreciate it.
Okay.
Yarrow Willman-Cole, Workplace Justice Program Director at the New Jersey Citizen Action. When Jersey Matters comes right back, a living tribute to honor the memory of Stephanie Pars.